Welcome to Trending Unpacked, the podcast where we unravel what the internet is talking about and why it matters. Okay, picture this for a second. You're looking out maybe across a desert landscape. The sky's clear, maybe a bit hazy, typical. And then way off on the horizon, you see this smudge. It doesn't look like much at first.
Right, almost like nothing.
Exactly. But then you realize it's growing fast. And it's not just getting bigger, it's solidifying into this absolutely enormous, wall of brown dust.
Yeah, a towering wall. It's unmistakable once it takes shape.
Totally. It stretches miles across your view, reaching way, way up into the sky, thousands of feet, right? And it's moving towards you relentlessly.
Like a freight train, some people say. The speed and the scale are just immense.
It really is hard to wrap your head around. It feels like the Earth itself is moving, but driven by the weather.
That's a good way to put it. Geological scale, meteorological engine.
And then everything changes. The light just drops.
Yeah.
Suddenly it's this weird, dark, sepia color everywhere.
Yeah, the sun gets completely blotted out, instant twilight.
The air feels thick. You can almost taste the dust.
Yeah.
And before you know it, things you could see just moments ago, buildings, mountains, whatever, they just vanish.
Yeah.
Swallowed.
It's incredibly disorienting and suffocating, literally.
It feels like something straight out of a movie, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like a disaster film or some kind of sci-fi epic where nature just decides, okay, I'm in charge now.
Exactly. That raw, untamed power. It feels almost alien when you're in the middle of it or even just witnessing it.
Right. It completely changes the environment around you, your whole perception. And this is where it gets really interesting for our discussion today, looking at the material you shared. Almost as soon as this incredible natural thing happens, it jumps tracks. It becomes an internet phenomenon.
Instantly.
Sometimes.
Which brings us to the big question, right? How does something so geological, so meteorological, born from dry land and massive storms, how does that also become this huge viral sensation?
It's a fascinating crossover. Why do these spectacular kind of terrifying dust storms, and they have a specific name, haboobs, which we'll get into, why do they grab everyone? From the scientists studying atmospheric physics to, someone just scrolling TikTok and making memes.
Yeah, that huge range of engagement.
So that's what we want to unpack today, that mix of, let's say, scientific wonder and this very real cultural fascination, trying to bridge the gap between the weather event itself and how we all end up talking about it, sharing it, interpreting it online.
It's a fantastic question because it really highlights that duality. On one hand, you have this incredibly powerful, well-defined meteorological event. There's physics, there's specific conditions, predictable patterns,
The science bit.
Exactly, the science bit. But then almost immediately it morphs into this cultural object, something people everywhere process through their own filters, pop culture, anxieties, humor, everything.
Yeah, their lived experience or lack thereof.
Right. And it really shines a light on how we today perceive and share information about the world, especially when it throws something truly massive and visually stunning at us. The haboob is like a perfect case study for that.
It really is. Nature's power seen through this very modern, very digital lens.
Right.
Okay, so let's focus on these things themselves. Haboobs. You mentioned the name, and you said it's more than just a quirky word.
Oh, absolutely. The word haboob isn't just some random term someone cooked up. It has real history, deep roots.
Okay.
It comes directly from the Arabic word hab, H-A-B-B, and it literally just means to blow.
Oh, simple enough.
Simple, but it tells you something important. It tells you these storms have been a known, named part of life in certain regions for a very, very long time. Millennia, probably.
Right, long before weather forecasters, Twitter.
Exactly. People in places like North Africa, the Arabian Peninsula, they've understood and lived with these powerful dust-filled winds for generations. It's embedded in the language because it's embedded in the experience. This isn't new, it's ancient.
That context is really important.
Yeah.
So the name is old, the phenomenon is old. Let's get into the mechanics then. From a weather science perspective, what exactly makes a haboob happen? How does that distinct wall of dust form?
Okay, so at its core, a haboob is a type of intense dust storm, but it's a specific kind. The key mechanism is something called an atmospheric gravity current.
A gravity current. Okay, what's that
Think
like?
of it like pouring dense syrup into water. The denser liquid flows underneath the lighter one along the bottom, right?
Yeah. Oh.
An atmospheric gravity current is similar, but with air. It's a powerful surge of cold, dense air flowing along the ground beneath warmer, less dense air.
And what kicks that off? Where does that cold air come from?
Usually the trigger is a collapsing thunderstorm, a big, mature one that's starting to die out.
So the storm weakening actually causes this.
Sort of, yeah. As the storm structure collapses, it releases this massive amount of rain-cooled, dense air downwards very rapidly. This is the downdraft.
Okay.
And this downdraft hits the ground like a giant plunger. Bam. Right. And all that cold, dense air has nowhere to go but outwards. It spreads out radially like ripples in a pond, but much more violently and on a huge scale.
So it's not wind from the storm moving sideways. It's this vertical drop that then pushes outwards along the ground.
Exactly. That vertical collapse turning into a horizontal outflow is the critical part. And as this ring of cold, dense air rushes across dry land...
Dry land. Key ingredient.
A key ingredient. It acts like a massive, incredibly efficient broom. It just scours the surface, picking up enormous amounts of loose sand, dust, silt, anything light enough to be lifted.
Wow.
And all that material gets churned up and suspended within that advancing current of cold air. That's what forms the haboob. This turbulent, fast-moving, dust-laden outflow boundary. The wall you see is the leading edge of that gravity current.
That plunger analogy, and thinking of it as a denser current, that really clicks. Okay, so you mentioned dry land. Obviously, deserts come to mind. Where are the main hotspots globally for these specific haboob events?
Yeah, deserts are the prime locations because they have that essential fuel source, vast amounts of loose, dry sediment. The major zones we see haboobs frequently are places like the Sahara Desert, especially the Sahel region at its southern edge.
Okay, classic desert.
Right. Also, the Arabian Peninsula, parts of Iraq and Kuwait, and Sudan is particularly famous for them. That's where the term haboob is most strongly associated historically.
Sudan, right.
These places have the perfect combination. The right kind of meteorology, meaning conditions ripe for strong thunderstorms, and those huge expanses of dry, loose soil with little vegetation to hold it down. You need both the engine and the fuel.
Got it. Engine and fuel. But it's not just those regions, is it? Your research points out they happen quite a bit in the U.S., which I think surprises a lot of people.
It really does. The southwestern United States, especially Arizona, is a major hotspot. It gets called the American anomaly sometimes because people don't typically equate Arizona with, say, the Sahara in terms of dust storms.
Yeah, you think Grand Canyon, not necessarily. Giant dust walls.
Exactly. But Arizona has the desert landscape, plenty of fine, loose soil, and it has a distinct summer monsoon season.
The monsoon connection.
That's the key. The monsoon brings these intense, often quite localized, powerful thunderstorms, and those storms produce the strong downdrafts needed to kick off haboobs. So when those monsoon storms roll over the dry desert areas, bam, you get haboobs. For people unfamiliar with it, seeing one roll into Phoenix can be genuinely shocking.
I can only imagine. And they also pop up elsewhere, right? Like Australia?
Yes, parts of Australia definitely see them too. They might call them intense dust storms or sometimes associate them with willy willies, which are dust devils. But the large-scale dust walls driven by storm outflows certainly occur there in the arid regions. It shows it's a phenomenon tied to specific conditions, not just one or two famous locations.
Okay, so they're more widespread in arid zones than maybe people realize. Let's go back to the visual. You described it as a towering, rolling wall. Just how big are we talking? What's the scale like?
The scale is truly awesome, in the original sense of the word. That visual of a towering, solid-looking wall is no exaggeration. They can easily be several miles wide, sometimes tens of miles wide.
Tens of miles?
Oh, yeah. And they can reach heights of thousands of feet, often over 5,000 feet, sometimes even exceeding 10,000 feet.
That's higher than small mountains.
Absolutely. Imagine a moving cliff face, taller than many mountains, advancing across the landscape. It blots out the sky, dwarfs buildings, swallows entire city skylines. It's not just a hazy cloud, it's this distinct, imposing, rapidly moving front.
That defined leading edge must be what makes it look so architectural almost, so solid.
Exactly that. It looks incredibly solid, even though it's just dust and air. That sharp front is the boundary of the cold outflow, constantly churning up new material as it advances.
And that sweeping action you mentioned earlier, that's what maintains it.
Precisely. That outflow current, that gravity current, is relentless. It acts like that broom, continuously lifting and pushing forward enormous quantities of dust. That process creates and sustains that visible, often quite abrupt leading edge. It's a dynamic boundary, constantly being replenished as it moves.
Okay, the visuals are stunning, terrifying, awe-inspiring, all of that. But let's shift to the practicalities.
Yeah.
What are the actual dangers? Because this isn't just something cool to watch on YouTube, it's a serious hazard.
Critically important point. Yes, they look amazing, but they are incredibly dangerous. The single biggest, most immediate threat is the visibility reduction. It can go from perfectly clear to literally zero visibility in seconds.
Zero visibility. Instantly.
Instantly. Imagine you're driving down the highway at 70 miles an hour. Or maybe you're a pilot on approach to land. 1 second, you see everything. The next, your world is just brown. Utterly impenetrable.
That's terrifying.
It causes extreme disorientation and creates incredibly hazardous conditions. That suddenness is key. It's not like fog rolling in slowly. It's like a switch being flipped. Instant blindness.
And the consequences on roads must be catastrophic.
Absolutely. Tragically, massive multi-car pileups are a distressingly common result of haboobs hitting highways, especially in places like Arizona during the monsoon season. It's a direct consequence of that sudden, total loss of visibility.
Unimaginable chaos.
Yeah.
But it's not just traffic accidents, right? What about breathing?
No, the health impacts are significant too. These storms whip up not just coarse sand, but vast amounts of very fine particulate matter, PM10, even finer PM2.5, stuff that gets deep into your lungs.
Nasty stuff.
Really nasty. It's a major respiratory hazard, especially for kids, older adults, and anyone with existing conditions like asthma, COPD, bronchitis, or even allergies. Hospitals often see a spike in admissions for breathing problems after a major haboob.
Wow. And long-term effects too, potentially.
There are concerns about long-term exposure, yes. Plus, the dust can carry pollutants, fungal spores, bacteria. It's not just inert dirt.
Good grief. Okay, so accidents, health issues. What else? Infrastructure.
Big impacts there, too. Power outages are common. The force of the wind and the abrasive dust can damage power lines, transformers, substations.
Yeah.
Communications can be disrupted. And air travel gets completely snarled. Airports shut down. Flights are grounded, delayed, diverted. It causes major ripples through the transportation network.
So it's a systemic disruption, really, not just a localized weather event.
Definitely. The economic impacts, the public health burden, the strain on emergency services, it adds up quickly. They are serious, multifaceted hazards.
Okay, serious indeed. Which makes their transition to internet fame even more interesting. When did these things really break through? What were those key moments that made haboob a word people suddenly knew?
There's one event that really stands out as the tipping point. It was a truly massive haboob that hit Phoenix, Arizona back in July 2011.
Ah, the Phoenix one. I remember that.
Yeah, that one was epic. Huge, miles wide, over a mile high, and it hit a major metropolitan area right when smartphone cameras and early social media were becoming ubiquitous.
Perfect storm in a way.
Exactly. People captured incredible footage, photos, and it just exploded. It was all over the news, but also all over Facebook, Twitter. It went properly global, viral.
Right. Before that, most people outside those regions probably hadn't even heard the word, let alone seen anything like it.
Pretty much. The Phoenix 2011 event really put haboobs on the map for a global audience. The sheer scale and the drama of the footage just captivated everyone. It made the term and the image instantly recognizable.
And it feels like they've stayed on the map, doesn't it? They seem to trend pretty regularly now during storm season.
They absolutely do. That 2011 event was just the start. Now, every year when the monsoon season kicks off in the Southwest, or when a big one hits elsewhere, the footage floods the internet again.
And the platforms have changed too, right? It's not just news clips anymore.
Right. Now you have TikTok, Instagram Reels, platforms built for short, dramatic, visually arresting video. Haboobs are practically made for TikTok.
Yeah, I can see that.
You get these incredibly intense, often raw clips, someone filming from their car dashboard as the wall approaches, or time lapses from buildings. It's instantly shareable and continues to fascinate people.
So the technology makes it even easier to capture and share these moments globally, almost in real time.
Instantly. Someone posts a clip from Arizona, and within minutes, millions around the world can be watching it. That accessibility just keeps feeding the fascination. It's a cycle. Storm happens, footage goes viral, everyone talks about haboobs again.
Okay, so we understand the science, the dangers, how they go viral. Let's dig into how people talk about them online. What kind of comparisons pop up? What does it tell us about how we process these huge natural events?
It's really revealing, actually. When people see this overwhelming force, they often reach for metaphors from fiction, from movies to try and grasp it. You see comments constantly comparing them to apocalyptic walls.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Or saying it looks like real-life movie CGI, or even things like, is this the beginning of the end? It's a way to frame something that feels almost unreal by relating it to narratives we already know.
Using fiction to understand fact.
Precisely. And specific references come up all the time in the sources you looked at. Mad Max is a really common one with its dust-filled world.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Or other big disaster movies, sci-fi epics. It shows how much popular culture shapes our lens for viewing even real-world natural phenomena. We see the haboob, but we interpret it through the movies we've watched.
It's our shared cultural shorthand for massive and terrifying. But it's not just modern movies, is it? Some interpretations go way back.
They really do. You definitely see threads online where people start talking about biblical plagues.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, linking these modern events to ancient stories of divine wrath or judgment. Even if people aren't literally religious, the sheer scale and suddenness of a haboob seems to tap into something primal, something that resonates with those old narratives about nature's overwhelming power or signs from above.
That makes sense. It feels elemental, almost supernatural, even if you know the science.
Exactly. It triggers that sense of awe, maybe even a touch of existential dread that connects to very old human anxieties and myths.
Fascinating how it bridges ancient fears and modern tech. Now let's talk about the word itself again, haboob. Your sources mentioned the name itself becomes part of the online buzz, almost like a meme.
Oh, totally. The word haboob is inherently funny sounding to many English speakers who aren't familiar with it. It sounds, well, slightly silly maybe.
Yeah, it has a certain sound.
So when it trends, you immediately get this wave of people going, is that a real word?
Hmm.
Or making jokes about it, creating memes just based on the name.
So the confusion itself becomes content.
Exactly. The linguistic curiosity, the slight awkwardness of the unfamiliar term, it all fuels online engagement in a really interesting, often humorous way. It shows how we sometimes react to new information with a bit of playful confusion.
And unintentionally, maybe, it creates a little bit of cross-cultural awareness, an Arabic word suddenly popping up in mainstream English social media.
It absolutely does. It's probably accidental for most people, but yeah, suddenly you have this word with deep roots in another language and culture being discussed, typed out, maybe even looked up by millions who'd never encountered it before. It's a small but real instance of how global events, shared online, can subtly introduce new vocabulary and bridge cultures, even if it starts with a chuckle.
A little linguistic bridge built by dust storms.
Okay, so we have this powerful natural event, and we have the social media machine. How does social media specifically amplify both the fear and the fascination around haboobs? What's the mechanism there?
Well, social media platforms are basically designed for things like haboobs. As your material noted, they are incredibly photogenic, or maybe videogenic. That visual of a giant moving wall is just inherently surreal and attention-grabbing.
Hard to scroll past.
Exactly. It has an immediate visceral impact. Awe, fear, curiosity that makes people want to share it. Look at this crazy thing. It's tailor-made for generating clicks, views, and shares. The algorithms love it.
Because it's so visually extreme. Right. And it's not just about sharing what happened. The platforms themselves encourage a certain kind of presentation, don't they?
How so?
Well, the platforms thrive on engagement. Dramatic footage gets more views, more comments, more shares. This incentivizes people to post the most dramatic clips, maybe add sensational captions, use trending sounds. It creates a feedback loop.
Ah, the exaggeration effect.
Precisely. Social media tends to heighten or, exaggerate both the terror and the fascination. The internet version of the haboob can become even more intense, more apocalyptic looking than the already dramatic reality.
Potentially distorting the experience for people who aren't actually there.
It can, yeah. It blurs the line between witnessing a natural hazard and consuming digital spectacle, and that's why they keep trending. Every new storm brings new, intense footage perfectly suited for platforms like TikTok, feeding that cycle of amplification and fascination.
Okay, so we've got the science, the impact, the viral mechanics, the interpretations. Let's zoom out a bit for the analysis. What does this whole haboob phenomenon, the event and our reaction to it, tell us about our relationship with extreme weather, especially when we experience it online?
I think it taps into something really fundamental about human psychology. We seem to have this innate fascination with awe-inspiring natural power, even when we see it on a screen. There's a draw to the spectacle.
Just the sheer scale of it.
Yeah, the scale, the power, the visual grandeur. Haboobs offer that in spades. It's not like a gentle rain shower. It's nature operating on a level that dwarfs us and that inherently captures our attention. It connects to that sense of wonder, maybe even a healthy respect for forces bigger than ourselves.
And crucially, when we watch it online, we're safe, right? There's that element of thrill without the actual risk.
That's a huge part of it. The safe distance thrill. You get to witness something incredibly dramatic, potentially terrifying, but from the complete safety of your couch. It allows you to be fascinated by the danger, the zero visibility, the potential destruction without any personal threat. It's like watching the ultimate disaster movie, but it's real, happening somewhere else. It's a unique kind of voyeuristic entertainment mixed with, perhaps, a bit of education.
That makes a lot of sense. The ultimate safe scare. But this brings up that tension between science and sensationalism. When a Haboob video goes viral, how do scientists fit into that picture? Do they just get drowned out by the memes?
It's a challenge, but it's also a huge opportunity, and many scientists are seizing it. When these events trend, you often see meteorologists, atmospheric scientists, even public health officials actively jumping into the online conversation.
Oh, really? Like on Twitter or TikTok?
Absolutely. They use these moments of peak public interest as a chance to educate. They'll get into trending threads and explain the actual meteorology, talk about the safety risks, debunk myths, provide context.
Using the viral moment for science communication.
Exactly. It's real-time, mass-scale science education. They can reach millions of people who are suddenly curious about haboobs, people they might never reach through traditional channels. It's about injecting accurate information into that whirlwind of dramatic footage and pop culture takes.
That's actually pretty cool. But it must be tough, right? Trying to explain atmospheric gravity currents when someone else is posting a clip comparing it to the apocalypse set to dramatic music.
It's incredibly tough. You're competing for attention in an environment that rewards simplicity, emotion, and hyperbole. Conveying scientific nuance, the complexities, the uncertainties, is hard when the algorithm favors the quick, sensational hit.
Yeah, the science is often less viral than the spectacle.
Right, so the challenge is finding that balance. Being engaging enough to capture some attention, but rigorous enough to provide real understanding. It's a constant struggle to ensure accuracy doesn't get completely lost in the noise. It's about turning that fleeting viral curiosity into some actual lasting knowledge.
A critical but difficult balancing act. Okay, so thinking even bigger picture now. The terror, the awe, the science, the social media frenzy. What's the ultimate reflection here? What does the haboob, as this dual phenomenon, tell us about nature itself?
I think it beautifully encapsulates the dual nature of the world around us. Nature is simultaneously terrifyingly destructive and profoundly awe-inspiring.
Both things at once.
Absolutely. Haboobs are such a perfect symbol of that tension. On the one hand, they are objectively dangerous. They cause accidents, health problems, major disruptions. They represent nature's raw power to harm and destroy.
The terrifying part.
Definitely. But on the other hand, that power, that scale, the sheer visual majesty of that advancing wall, it's undeniably mesmerizing. It evokes that sense of the sublime, something so vast and powerful it fills you with both fear and wonder. It reminds us of forces far beyond human control, our own smallness in the grand scheme of things.
That's a powerful way to think about it. So for you listening, encountering these images or videos online, what's the key takeaway? How should you process this blend of natural event and digital phenomenon?
Well, it really comes back to that initial question, doesn't it? How this scientific event becomes a cultural moment. It prompts you, I think, to be aware of how technology shapes your perception. Social media makes these events incredibly accessible, brings them right to your screen in real time.
Which is amazing in itself.
It is, but it also means they're often filtered, sensationalized, packaged for maximum impact by platforms and users. So the takeaway is maybe about critical consumption. Appreciate the spectacle, acknowledge the awe, definitely understand the very real danger.
But also seek out the science behind it.
Exactly. Try to understand the why and the how behind the wow. Grasp the meteorology, understand the risks. Be informed by the reality, not just entertained or scared by the online representation. It's about appreciating the complexity of the world, both its terrifying power and its scientific underpinnings.
Be critically informed, not just passively amazed. I like that. A fantastic point to consider. And a crucial reminder, while these haboobs might look like something cooked up in Hollywood, they are absolutely real, and their potential for danger is immense. That sudden loss of visibility, the breathing hazards, the disruption to travel, it all highlights that their dramatic look comes with serious, real-world consequences. Respect for their power is key. Well, thank you for guiding us through this exploration of haboobs, from their ancient roots to their modern viral life. It's been truly fascinating to see where meteorology, culture, and technology collide. Next time on Trending Unpacked, we're changing lanes completely. We shift from storms to sports, breaking down everything buzzing around the U.S. Open. Hope you can join us then.